What was the incident in your high school? Part 2. When I was in high school, our Hicktown school had a gang called the Cobras who would spray paint cobras on school property, write it on desks, in the bathrooms, basically everywhere. It was dumb and many of the students had a good idea who was a part of this gang, but the teachers didn't. The principal would call down groups for photos in the yearbook, siblings, sports teams, drama club, etc., on overhead announcements, and one day they called down the Cobras for a school photo for the yearbook to try and figure out who they were. They caught almost half the students who were defacing the school property because they showed up for the group photo. How stupid do you have to be to walk into your own arrest? Gym cooling system overheated and caught on fire during the homecoming parade. That and state police had to show up 2 years ago after an increase of freshman fights in the cafeteria. It got to the point where there were some rumors that school security had to use a taser on one of the kids after a fight to subdue. The rumor was fake, and our football team had to cancel a home game and concede the game over potential threats. It was a crappy junior year, 2017 to 2018. I find it ironic that a cooling system can catch on fire. I understand how it works and can happen, just find it funny. Someone found a gun on campus, and like 3 or 4 posts on social media about shooting up the school. One of them actually caused a lockdown during class because the student was across the street from the school with a gun, according to someone who supposedly got on the police radio frequency. They never revealed the whole story to try to reduce rumors from spreading, which just led to more rumors. It was pretty funny. We had a teacher who was super nice. She was out for 3 days, and we didn't question it much until she wasn't there again for the next week. Turns out her husband murdered her quite brutally. It was so quiet the next few months for that class, we didn't really know how to process it. He's in prison, and the kids are with the grandparents last I read. Quite sad. My class would have acted nonchalantly right after they heard such news as if nothing happened. A young and friendly substitute teacher died tragically in a crash, and my class reacted that way. I didn't know about the news for days, because no one told me while I was sick. When I found out later, I was tearful because that teacher was the only one who wanted to help me to keep up for my absences. I meant to give him a book for a farewell gift because his internship in my school had ended, but he died before I could give it to him. I still have the book in my bedroom. It was custom made with lyrics from a music band that we both liked. My class in high school left unpleasant memory because I wasn't on the same page with other kids. My grade lost 3 students. Sophomore year, a boy was in the passenger side of a truck leaving a party and was T-boned by a drunk driver and died. Junior year, within days of each other, a boy jumped out of the back of the bus in an attempt to skip school and go to the beach. He died days later in the hospital. A few guys skipped school to go dirt biking. One of the guys crashed without a helmet and died in his best friend's arms. The entire time I was in high school, only 3 students at our school died. All were in my grade level. I cried watching their parents accept their diplomas at graduation. We had an incident where 5 students went on a tubing trip at the beginning of the school year or end of summer, and on their way home the driver hit a tree. He was drunk. Killed him instantly, and 2 of the girls that were with him found out one was a cousin of mine, put one of them in a coma, and another girl survived, but was the sister of one of the girls who died, and her best friend was the other. All the students were from different high schools. Small community though. It shook up the community for a while, and then a few weeks later, Katrina hit, and everyone lost everything. Kid punched a school cop. He pepper sprayed the entire hallway of kids, including me going to class. Tons of people ended up going to the hospital. Missed my class though, lol. Every year, somebody died. Freshman, a senior drowned in the lake. Sophomore, another guy drowned. Junior, a girl got ejected from her friend's car. Senior, a girl got stabbed like 18 times with a gardening tool. Literally, like a day after that girl got ejected from her car, these 2 guys got caught sucking each other off in the bathroom. Literally, like a day after that girl got ejected from her car, these 2 guys got caught sucking each other off in the bathroom. Were these incidents related? People cope differently. We had a shooting, an outbreak of syphilis, and a thwarted stabbing attack by a teacher's ex-husband. My high school had a decade-themed talent show every year. They would do it in our auditorium, which had an orchestra pit underneath part of the stage. Close to the end of the show, a lot of people went out on the stage and started dancing, and the stage collapsed. Only a couple people were hurt, but one of my friends broke his pelvis and had to be in a wheelchair for a while. It must be a slow day for the news because it made all the way to the BBC and Tosho did a bit on it. Imagine the teacher telling the kids to break a leg. Couple of rather depressing ones for my school, which for context is in a relatively quiet area. Had one incident where 2 students were spending together alone behind a grocery store across from the school. They were approached by a mentally ill man who proceeded to shoot both of them in the head. Another incident involved a student who was physically handicapped with cerebral palsy and muscular dystrophy. He couldn't walk or talk on his own. He was abused by 2 of his caretakers, which included one of them literally dumping him out of his wheelchair and onto his face. What gets me is, for the most part, the school was fairly quiet beyond extremes like this. This wasn't in my high school, but back in middle school, someone got taken to court for bringing vodka to school in water bottles and then selling it to other students, 7th grade. There was also the crazy British kid who got suspended after saying he'd shoot up the school, also 7th grade. He apparently came back to the school a few months later, but I never met him. On the topic of violence, we also had several anonymous bomb threats left in the Spanish classroom throughout my 8th grade year. Oh, we used to do that. Here, drinking age is 18, and the last weeks before graduation, we would sneak in all kinds of booze and just be pretty drunk at times. They never outright busted us, but they were very suspicious. However, they couldn't really do anything since we were legally allowed to drink. They just instituted a new rule that no booze was allowed on school premises, but nobody cared. We had already taken all our exams, and they couldn't punish anyone. Some unknown guy killed a prof in his office and apparently hid out in the drywall space in the medical school building for a few days. The police ended up having to clear out that building like it's a war zone, and they never caught the killer. They think it was either a crazy student, a bit of office politics that got murderous, as the professor was just about to get the plum gig in the department, an escaped crazy person from the local mental hospital, which was for some reason on the grounds of the university right behind the physics building. Some combination thereof. Wow, how do you hide in the drywall for a few days? And how do you kill a prof in his office? There was something in the local news recently about a manhunt or something, and they found his RV, and they absolutely tore that thing apart looking for clues. A few days later, they found out that he was literally hiding in the RV as they were tearing it apart and didn't find him. I mean, that RV no longer had its walls, and they didn't find him. Someone I knew tried to call in a bomb threat from a payphone during finals week. This was in the 90s, and nobody took him seriously, and the school found out who it was and suspended him for like a couple days. I'd imagine now the school would go on lockdown, or just close and not let any students in, since he did it early in the morning. The kid would probably end up getting arrested by a SWAT team with a bomb squad nearby, cost the city a fortune, get jailed, or at least expelled, and their life would be ruined. Yeah, we had a rash of fire alarms my junior year. The principal pleaded for them to stop. One weekend, the school redid all the alarms with that ink that sprays whoever pulls it. Dude got nailed, charged with a serious crime because he foolishly admitted to pulling like 10 alarms. He spent his Christmas at juvenile hall. I was a teacher, and a very good kid just got pushed to his limit by a bully teacher. Had been bullied by this guy for a couple of years. Never did find out what was up with that. So, bully teacher says something to the kid. He runs out to his car, grabs a crowbar, and comes in smashing all the glass he encountered. It was safety glass, but lots of shards anyway. Tries to go after the teacher to kill him. He got trapped in the library. The classroom was located in a small classroom off the library, and I was right next door, keeping kids in their seats and unable to go to the bathroom for 90 minutes. Cops began arriving from all directions, since we were right off 2 state highways. State cops, canine cops, etc. Kid destroyed all the beautiful 1940s oak shelving, teacher's desk, anything that would break. His mom shows up and disarms him. Kid gets slammed on a stretcher and hauled off to the nearby AFB, where his dad worked. Not sure exactly what all happened there, but he got a lifetime ban from being at the high school and a serious restraining order from ever contacting or being near the bully teacher. I liked the kid, never had once a tiny bit of trouble with him. Saw him a couple of months later and asked him to please tell me if he was ever mad at me. He laughed. Kid was diagnosed with intermittent explosive disorder. He went on to be a good adult. He just kind of lost it that day. It's one thing to be bullied by another kid, but by an adult in a position like that is devastating. Glad he's doing good now. The admin at my school used to drive around campus on golf carts for whatever reason. One day, a kid jacked one and accidentally ran over another kid. No more golf carts after that. Principal found weed in the boys' bathroom, called an assembly, and told us we had to vote for those who we think it was. I think the principal's son got like 98% of the votes. Suddenly, the voting system wasn't valid. We didn't even coordinate it. Everyone had the same idea at once, and it was glorious. I find it interesting that it was his son everyone voted for, and not him. I would have gone with the finders keepers rule. It's your weed now, principal. We had a student commit suicide, and the next day, students were crying and upset. One student asked the English teacher if they could go to guidance because they were so upset. The teacher said that no one should be upset because committing suicide is a sin, so the kid was in hell. The entire class got up and walked out. She got suspended for 1 day since it was her first offense. What is wrong with people? She's the worst human being. She called a black kid the N-word once. It was witnessed by multiple people, but she denied it and didn't get in trouble. Also, randomly walked up behind a girl and cut her hair off during class and didn't get in trouble. Everyone hated this woman. Undercover cop posing as a student for 6 months. Busted a variety of students dealing and transporting drugs. We had a fight club that made front page news when someone added a newspaper reporter to the private Facebook group. The police showed up to the next fight, everyone scattered, and a kid got hit by a bus while running across the street. We got a new crossing light installed in the middle of the block the next semester. Did the kid survive? He ended up being fine, but he was enough of a jerk. No one really felt too bad about his 2 broken legs.